I got us live. Also, you're on your DSLR. I thought about hooking my Sony. I got a Sony A 6500.
Yeah.
I want to get an A7, but I'm gonna have to. I don't shoot like I used to shoot.
Pricey.
Yeah, but very good though.
Very good.
A lot of the shooters that for high school sports, a lot of the shooters have not all of them. They're Nikon diehards, etc. But one of the real good ones, he was a Canon shooter, and he saw my Sony and he saw someone else's Sony, and he's like, I got to look into that. And the next thing you know, he's shooting Sony. He replaced all of his equipment. He got the A7.
Okay.
And he shoots for the paper. He shoots for the Charlotte Observer, which is a big paper. He's got a nice.
I do remember the Charlotte Observer from my newsprint days.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Now they're owned by McClatchy.
Yep.
You're familiar with them?
McClatchy.
Yep.
Used to work with several of their papers throughout the country, McClatchy.
I'll say this and then we'll get on to our thing. We do a weekly, I think I've told you, sports webcast.
Yeah.
And I'm part of the football, the fall, early winter group. And back during the presidential election, I invited and got on Sue Jorgensen, the Libertarian candidate.
Sure.
So we actually had her on, and we were on every McClatchy site over the country. So that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
You ready?
I'm ready. Let's go, guys.
Okay. The first thing I thought we could talk about is we had 2 big updates this month.
Yes, we did. Some very big updates.
Exactly. So the Duo 1 got an update, and you've got a Duo 1, right?
Well, I gave my Duo 1 to my son, and
right.
And when I decided to buy the Duo 2, because I couldn't really justify both of them, and
sure.
And so, yeah, I do have that Duo 1 and a Duo 2. He has a Duo 1.
Has your son given you any feedback on it since the update?
It is his primary productivity device, as he terms it.
Okay.
It's not his device that he, does all his texting, and if he's in the grocery store, you pull out your shooter real quick. It's not. But it's a device that he's into music, and when he's operating his music and mixing music and sharing music, he is actively using the Duo to accomplish that.
Okay.
He loves it.
I think I told you the update. Okay. So I think I told you last time, I'm pretty sure I did, that I still use the Duo. I try to give it a certain amount of time every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the update came out, I actually, without moving the SIM card, I made it my primary for almost a week to see what the update was like. But I say almost a week because then came the Duo 2 update.
Right.
And of course, I really like the Duo 2, so I had to switch back. Interesting at the same time, because I didn't know when the Duo 1 update was going to come out. Mm-hmm. I had switched my keyboard to Gboard just to get some full-time Gboard experience.
Okay.
In understanding a Gboard. So I was using Gboard for about a week full time, so I could really understand Gboard a little bit more. And then that update came out, and so I was kind of mixing the two. But I can say, there was a post on Reddit just a little while ago, someone asking about is touch response improved? And I'll just say from my point of view, everything has improved on the Duo One.
I very much agree. It's a different device now.
Exactly. It's more like a device now, I guess is the way to put it. It's more, it does what you'd expect.
Absolutely.
You look at its specifications, it performs and does things per its specifications. So I'm going to throw this up here. Just we got us a comment here. Gboard used to glitch a lot on the Duo One, but I haven't had the issue recently. I wanted to see if there's any real difference, and honestly, I think for typing and swiping, SwiftKey's better. And the reason SwiftKey's better is because I can size the keyboard properly. I think if Google would add the same kind of sizing options to Gboard that SwiftKey has, Gboard would be on par with it for those.
It only sizes one direction with Gboard.
Right. You can set the height.
Right.
Yeah.
Up and down. It doesn't go, right to left, left to right.
It doesn't go right to left. And since I'm a swiper, I like to use SwiftKey's one-hand mode, and then I size that keyboard so it's pushed over onto the right, and the width of it is just perfect. I size it to match my S21 Ultra.
But so one of the things about it is I really believe the size of your hand, in my opinion, impacts using this device greatly.
Without
if you have, and I don't know what my hand size is, I think it may be a large. I'm somewhere between the large and the extra large, and I think that when we type using alternative phones, this phone is slender.
Yep.
And you can just your thumb goes all the way across, and so here's what I do. And I recently, listened to you talked about something of the swiping aspect, and I'm getting better with swiping, but I've started speaking to the phone a lot more, which that's not good anything for your privacy, but I've started speaking to it because when you're out and about and I certainly can type fast if I hold the phone like this, but when I want to have one hand occupied and another hand tight, I'll hit the voice button and do the voice dictation, and that has really saved me some headache because the voice dictation in SwiftKey is pretty good.
Yeah. So now SwiftKey uses the same engine for voice that Gboard uses. So the SwiftKey people told me that. So
it's probably native to Android.
Right. It's native to Android. So I complained because I prefer to use Gboard for voice input. And the reason being is I can pause a second or two or three and think about what my next words need to be. And Gboard will wait on me a while. Now, eventually it'll time out, but Gboard will wait. If I wait a couple of seconds on SwiftKey, it stops and you got to start it again. So that's one of the areas that I think Gboard is better. Now, see here, text prediction is better on Gboard for me, but I fully agree about the size. And SwiftKey text prediction is better for me than Gboard. And the reason is the amount of time that we use the two devices. If I use Gboard more, it would get better for prediction for me. And if someone would use SwiftKey more, it'll get better for them. In fact, that's the next comment Ed makes is that he says that it took SwiftKey a while, but and that's right. It takes these engines a while to learn what you're after, what you're typing, etc. And SwiftKey doesn't hit everything. Um, and what I have found is that there are things that SwiftKey cannot predict, or will, for some reason, will not predict for me, and Gboard will. And then I can go over in Gboard and find something it will not predict for me, but yet SwiftKey will. So honestly, the two keyboards are real equal or real close to each other.
They're very close.
And I think on this phone here, this S21 Ultra, they're even. I really think the only major advantages SwiftKey has on the Duo, it may be on any phone, but in particular on the Duo, is the sizing of it.
It's the sizing function. Yeah,
exactly. So I did find on the Duo 1 that the update has improved the device tremendously. It's a very nice device now. And I've been using it for the last year. Even after I got my Duo, I still use the Duo 1, and it definitely is better. So
the device is one of the things that one advantage I think that the Duo 1 has is the fact that it does go all the way back. And I found that when I was using it daily, at the time it was my daily driver, and I'm a habitual phone user, phone buyer. I normally get multiple platforms because I like many options. And so when I was able to fold it all the way back and use it in a book mode, the times that it did work for me, it worked very well. Put me a lot in remembrance of the BlackBerry Passport.
Right.
Which was one of my favorite phones, actually.
Sure.
So I thought that it worked really, really well in that form factor. Now that it has the update, the thing that I think is probably a lot of people are probably, really happy about is the consistency.
Yeah.
And you no longer have to do this thing in the camera and all of that. Is now you have a little bit more control and a little bit more predictability when it comes to the camera.
Exactly. I agree. You mentioned the Passport, and that's partly because of its form factor. And that was something about like the iPhone 4S and 5S compared to the full iPhone. I don't like I'm not an iPhone guy, and I'm not a fan. I used it for 7 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But you almost have to use it somewhere in your if you're a person that's in the communication arena or business arena or somewhere you're going to use iPhone.
Yeah, IT told me, as I mentioned in our last our last tech talk, you're going to use BlackBerry, and then they replaced BlackBerry with iPhones.
Yeah,
and you want to know why they went with iPhone? Actually, at the time, for what IT wanted, management of devices, etc., like they were getting with BlackBerry, Windows Phone had a better option. Microsoft had a far better option. They could do it with Exchange, but the upper management team, who was not involved in technical stuff at all, wanted iPhones because that's what everybody was getting, iPhones. So it had to be a better option. So we got pushed iPhones. But that form factor of phone felt a lot better than the taller, slender, iPhones. So and the folding back on the Duo 1, that's something I'll talk about when we get to the case discussion on the Duo 2. I'll hold that. And then the Duo 2 got an update, and you're using Duo 2. Tell me what you think about the update.
So the camera, the low light function in the camera now is very, very good. Do I think it is as fast as some? There could be potentially some phones that are faster, but certainly now for the average user, it's acceptable. What many people don't know, we compare everything to the Pixel many times, and to some degree the iPhone Max. But what many people don't know is that when a Pixel takes an image, and I sold my Pixel, but when the Pixel takes an image, it doesn't display the raw image. It displays processed image.
Right.
And so therefore, what people don't know many times is that what the image that they're seeing is not an image that is untouched. Okay, so and to Microsoft's detriment, when they created the Duo 2 originally, and even Duo 1 to some degree, they created a camera algorithm, really in the software, that gave you the unprocessed image as opposed to giving you the processed image, and it made them look as though they were inferior. But along about the 6 months ago, or when we got the first really heavy update for Duo 1 that fixed a lot of camera issues, the camera was pretty good. But by then, the court of public opinion had already flipped on them, whether people saw it or not. So in Duo 2, when they made this correction, they didn't have a lot of fanfare about it, but they did a really good job, in my opinion, in bringing up the low light imagery. I find it to be on par with most phones of this, price point. So, yeah, so it's good. I don't take a lot of pictures. I take pictures. I probably have hundreds of pictures that I've taken with this Duo 2 since September, October of last year, and so I think that it's a good device. It's a good device now for taking pictures. Some of the other update things that they mentioned in there, I haven't really noticed a whole lot. Oftentimes they're vague with their language. Sometimes when they say updated for stability reasons or usability or something, they're just vague. What does that mean? We changing the font in the software? Are we changing? What does that mean? So they don't always tell you. So, but I'm happy with it. There are some things that I like to see happen, and I don't know if it'll come to it this year. But on the OnePlus, for example, you can press and hold the power button, and you'll get not only will you get the Google Home menu like you do on the Duo 2, but you also get a shortcut to Google Pay. And that function is not in the Duo 2. I have not. It may be in Pixel. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the Pixel 6 try that. But I could press and hold the power button on my OnePlus 8T, and it will bring up the Google Pay for just the card selection and everything very quickly without very much trouble. So that's something I think that somebody should either put an app for or a shortcut or add that in the power button from the manufacturer.
So there's some feedback to Microsoft you should do to suggest that. It's my guess is probably something that they enable in Android install. So when they do their build of Android, they're really just kind of going through it's all default stuff. It's default Android. So it may be just something they need to enable, and it would be there. And we're going to talk about GCam in a minute, but so I agree with you on the camera. It has improvement, and pictures are sometimes very important to me. I love taking pictures, and as you know, I like RAW. I like to go and get the RAW image.
Huge image.
Yeah, then I can process it and do with it what I want to do. but when we talk about GCam and maybe why use GCam, there's some distinct reasons when it comes to that processing. The performance stuff that they mentioned, you know, when I'm on the Microsoft Launcher beta, a lot of people are, and when they pushed out their builds in early January, we saw the improvement. So when the January update for the Duo 2 came out, it had the launcher in it, and thus it was kind of hard to see if there was any improvement above that. And probably, in my opinion, there wasn't. It was all in the launcher updates that they made. I did set my pen up to use the double click and the long press. Not that I use any of those, although the screenshot one can be handy. It's not that difficult to take a screenshot. It can be
useful, can it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if the pen's in your hand, then that's a good quick way to take a screenshot. But if the phone's in your hand, just power button and volume down, and you got your screenshot. So it's but you can assign that click to something else. The double click can go to something else. So I think overall it's a good update. Now there's another comment here, and we're going to try to hit people's comments.
Absolutely.
Come on, baby, pop back up. There's a big change on the Duo for the camera with the Android 11 update. Scanning QR codes in general. Yeah. So that's part of that camera update. Microsoft did a decent job. Now I'm a little, you mentioned, I see QR there, and I have complained to the launcher people about this, and that is that the launcher search does not have the camera button in it. And hopefully you can hear me. I see I'm freezing.
Yeah, okay. But we hear you great. Your audio is great.
Well, good. That's the important part, is the audio. So I've added the Bing search to my Microsoft, or the M365 feed, whatever you want to call it. That's the right swipe that brings up the glance screen.
Right.
Because it has the camera button, and you can use, not only can you use it to image search on Bing, you can also use it for QR code. So that's not, for some reason, it's, and they told me it was disabled on purpose, and I don't understand why. When it's not disabled on a normal Android. So on my S21 Ultra, it's there. So yeah, there's a lot of good things about the Duo 1 update to Android 11, and some of the things Microsoft does, and to the Duo 2. Harry, I don't think on the Duo 2, I would not expect another update for several months, other than.
I'm with you on that. Now, I will say this is the component concerning the Duo 2 in the most recent update that worked out good, is the YourPhone. YourPhone now, it used to be when you would pull up images on YourPhone that were on your Duo, the images would be cloudy or of a lower resolution. Obviously, they had a lot to do with transfer speed, etc. And now they appear to be full resolution. The speed at which the YourPhone operates now, I can switch back and forth from notifications, to messages, to photos, and of course now we have apps, and all of it seems to work very fast. Here's what's unclear to me, and I think I know the answer to this. I'm wondering if this is Bluetooth or if it's operating through the Wi-Fi network. And I say that because that's a predictor of what kind of speed that you would have with that type of connectivity.
Now, something that just I wanted to bring up, because I think a lot of people misunderstand what a companion device is when Microsoft talks about companion. Microsoft isn't talking about carrying an iPhone and a Duo, and the Duo being a companion to an iPhone. Microsoft's talking about the Duo being a companion to a Surface or to a laptop. And the tying of the companion is with YourPhone. That's what brings it in as the companion and lets you use your stuff off of the phone on your PC. Lets you use the apps on your PC. And in fact, if you dig down into the Android system, it's called YourPhone Companion, is what it identifies itself as. So
interesting.
When Microsoft talks about the Duo being a companion device, this is what they're talking about. They recognize that a person does not want to have to carry two devices. So in that case, it'd be three devices. Say an iPhone or another Android, your Duo, and let's say your big Surface or your Lenovo laptop. Nobody wants to do that. Well, I won't say nobody, because I'm the guy that sometimes has 4 mobile devices along with my Surface and my laptop. So
that's me.
Yeah. So let's say the general user does not want to do that. And thus, a guy on Twitter, there's I had it on our list to talk about, and that's Gustave Monce. He's doing the Windows 11 on Duo One.
Yes.
And somebody in that Twitter thread made a comment, this is what I want, on Windows Phone, and
I saw that.
Did you see that? And did you see his response to me?
Yeah, no, I didn't, but that's amazing that I saw it.
His response was kind of, he got real. I told him, I said, well, Microsoft has to offer Android because business world is using Android.
Yep.
And yeah, they use Apple because his response back was a personal assault on my technical knowledge. And, he mentioned Apple. My response, which he never responded to, is, yeah, well, Microsoft can't build a device and put iOS on it because that's a locked garden there. You ain't getting iOS on a device. They can't put iOS on this device if they wanted to. So Microsoft has to, if they want a companion device, they're going to have the apps that people use. And unfortunately today, I would like to have a Windows device. Yes, I loved the Windows 10 mobile and really saw a great future with that. And I'm sure Microsoft did too. That's what Andromeda was about. Was we were going to transition to that. And but Microsoft they couldn't get developers to write apps.
That's exactly right.
Microsoft gave them tools.
In those days, I was one of those developers at that time. And the use case, there was no business case to write it. And the reason why, the people that were using the Windows Phone were business people. They were people who were not into the Instagrams. They at that time, they were barely into Facebook. And some of the other new Snap had just come on the scene. Some of these other new applications were people who buy these phones every year. Really young people and they buy these phones and they use these applications that are, high user adoption. They could not get those developers, to your point. They could not get those developers to switch or even write their applications for the platform. So you ended up with web apps and apps that didn't work well, third-party developers, which were not very good. And then when you went in to purchase the apps from the store, rather be free, they were a fortune.
Right.
$12 is a lot of money for an app, unless you're on an iPad and you're getting some kind of professional grade app.
Right.
$12 is a lot of money. $199 or $99 is the number.
And Microsoft actually went in that time frame, was developing tools to allow the Apple developers and the Android developers to be able to more easily convert their apps.
That's right.
To Windows, but they weren't interested. So people don't understand that there's an absolute need right now because of where the market's at. And back to your phone. Your phone is great. I use it to accept calls. I don't make a lot of phone calls. Most of my voice stuff now happens on Teams, and or some other group chatting business thing,
such as Telegram.
But if somebody calls, yes, I can answer it right there. I see the thing about Snapchat. See, the Snapchat had no interest because Snapchat hates Microsoft. The founders of Snapchat hate Microsoft and will not do anything. I think even if it was a billion-dollar business, they have that mentality that they don't need the business and they hate Microsoft, so they were going to shut Microsoft out regardless.
In my opinion, Microsoft has been very friendly to a lot of people, but
right,
I was one of them. So I ran into that Microsoft buzzsaw.
It can happen.
Yeah.
I think probably one of the biggest things that I think upset developers in my history that I recall was when Microsoft decided to build Windows NT. IBM wanted to stay with the 1.x versions of OS2, and they wanted to hold off on 32-bit OS until OS2 3.0, and Microsoft didn't want to wait anymore. So Microsoft went ahead and built what was going to be OS2 3.0. They went ahead and built it and released it as Windows NT. And then all the developers that were on the OS2 side, they had their versions of Visual Studio back then that impacted them. So there was a lot of hate. That was a hate era. But anyway, YourPhone I think is a great app. I really like YourPhone. And I think the apps edition is going to be beneficial to a number of people. Is it beneficial to me? A little bit, but I'm probably not using that part of it. I wanted to see it because it's a Microsoft product and you could do it on Samsung, but you couldn't do it on the Microsoft device. But do I actually use it? A little bit. Mainly I use the messages, the phone calling, that integration, maybe the notifications, that kind of stuff. And then every once in a while, I'll continue an app on my desktop. But my use of apps, my primary use of apps, I have Windows versions of them. Office, all the Office apps, etc.
Absolutely.
So
there are things about it that I wish were different, or what word I want to use. I'm gonna just say different. One of the things that I'm going to see if I can just show this on the screen. I think it's better represented by. How about this one? If you see here on the screen,
I'm gonna try to get you up here on the screen. Why has it not got you? How do I do this?
I don't know. But whenever we get to this, you'll see me.
Yeah, I've messed up here, people. Let me go back to the 2, and at least we can see it this way. There you go. Yep.
So I'm going to, okay, that's fine. So if you see here, what you see there is the, what do we want to call that? That is the app running on my Surface Duo. That's the Bloomberg app running on my Surface Duo. Now, what's wrong with this, it could be good or bad. This is not responsive. It's responsive from the perspective of, can I full screen it? And when you full screen it, that's okay. Well, when you full screen it, it doesn't fill the screen. It's not. It's never going to confuse anybody of it being Samsung DeX or or something like that. Is it usable? Yes, it is.
Right.
Is it
Right.
informational? Yes, it is. But I think where Microsoft needs to grow a pair is they need to bring back Windows Continuum.
Yep.
And put it on the Duo. Now I'm not. This is only the second time you and I have done one of these, and I noticed that we didn't have a lot of live people, but after the fact, people come from somewhere and they watch this broadcast. So
yep.
Maybe Microsoft will get the hint. And
Daniel Rubino made a comment. There was a thread on Reddit, and I forgot exactly what it was I said, but he responded to me that it was about Continuum and having a better desktop experience and than what Android 11 currently is giving us with the desktop mode in it. And his comment was they're working on it. Now, I recognize I'm one of the ones, because I've been in his shoes, and maybe even deeper in some points, back with the Windows NT team, that you get yourself into positions where people tell you things. And so I have no doubt he has those connections, right?
Yeah.
Now, Microsoft is driven in the end by shareholders. So you've got engineering, you've got marketing and sales, and then you got shareholders. And engineering can get money to do things and development, so engineering covers the R&D people, that kind of stuff. So you can get money to develop things. You can get budget money to develop things, and shareholders don't really say anything about that until after the money's, come out.
Well, yeah, when you see, was it worth it? From
exactly. Was it worth it? Hey, stop that. You're wasting our money. So things like this, I do believe that Microsoft will bring that in. I view Continuum as a separate experience than what YourPhone is. So YourPhone is when I do have my laptop and I do have my big Surface device. Continuum is when I don't want to get that device out. And I just want to do it on this. So I just want to pull this guy out, hook it up to a monitor, get a keyboard out, start working with it. That then becomes a great offering for a lot of people. And I told you the story about the girl at Starbucks that brought up, she was doing SQL stuff and doing Continuum with the 950 XL. So I think that the two together are an awesome solution. So here Ryan is saying, Continuum, YourPhone, they need to drive convergence so that they can pick up from your device and go to your PC. I agree. The big thing about Continuum that we will not have, and you don't really have this with DeX, is that Continuum was huge for UWP apps.
Yes.
So the app made itself its full nature when you went to Continuum. So you had the mobile app that you were working with, but then when you went to Continuum, features that you didn't have were now exposed to you, menu things, etc. So the app recognizing where it's at and then what it could do, that was huge. You weren't just running your apps off of your phone in Windows. You were getting a desktop experience with the app itself. Not just the fact that you had a desktop, but the app itself was the desktop. So
and that's why Samsung has took a page out of that book.
yeah,
because I could take this tablet, which is the Tab S6 LTE, anywhere and plug it into a monitor and have a full experience with a native Windows environment. And
but you can't have your Windows Mobile. I mean, you can't have your Office Excel app scale to a full Windows app. That's the
right.
thing.
They prevent that. They prevent
right.
it.
Now,
you can hack it and do it, but they prevent it.
Right. So now Android developers could do that. There's nothing that keeps this from happening. It's nothing that keeps Microsoft from making it happen on Android, so that an app could scale up to a full version and more options. And that's probably a matter of how much future does Microsoft see in using Android. But a decent desktop experience, which we got another comment here. LG has a decent desktop experience mode. I don't understand why it's taken Google so long when Samsung's been doing it for years. Now, Google added it in Android 10, but it's shaky. And I tried to use Taskbar, which is an app that can give you a taskbar in that desktop environment and, a launcher for your apps. You have the windowing capability, even on Windows and Android 10. But it's been like a stale thing for them. I don't know what market. The unfortunate thing about Android, even though it's open, Google's controlling the base OS, and they're putting in things that they want and they see for their markets.
Absolutely.
So right now, do they see a market of people using Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint? That's what the business world uses right now. There are other apps.
That's those standards. Yeah.
Yeah, but does Google care about that, and thus to give people a business individual a desktop experience? Probably not so much. Right now, they want to go after that. I think their eyes are on like iPhone and an Apple and those users.
So that brings up a great point. I'll tell you why. Because and I say this all the time. So we those of us that have these devices here are enthusiasts. Hence the point. A few moments ago, you made a statement where you said I have 4 phones with me, etc., for various reasons. And I concurred because of me also, and because we're enthusiasts. We're sitting here today talking about Continuum, blast from the past. That was not only a great concept, a great product that no longer exists, and the usability of this. But the people that make this phone want to build a phone that works every single time, no questions asked. May not do everything that this one does, but it's gonna, if you notice it, Apple never invents anything. They only bring it to Apple.
They wait until exactly give it a time to get stabilized, if you will. Yep.
And so what Google is trying to adopt, they're trying to adopt this model because, The advantage this has is there's only one, and they're gonna only gonna make one per year, and all of the corporate resources will be on perfecting the one inside the box, not outside the box. But I'll give you an example where Google makes mistakes. Google has traditionally for years had some great products, but would you look at the, if I could call it bipolar perspective they've had when it comes to messaging? You know, you have Google Messages, you had Hangouts out there, Google Voice. Look, look at some now it's Google Meet, which is the old Hangouts sorta. Then it's still a Google Hangouts for business. I mean, so it's really they don't think, in my opinion, they have some type of other perspective and desire, which is certainly their prerogative. But I think where we go wrong is we depend on Google to give direction. I believe Google should really focus on a great platform and allow really, really good developers to improve things upon it. Case in point, in the days of when you would put a custom ROM on your phone, the phone to be able to do things that the native product could not do, because you had a community of people building these things. Now Google Pay used to be much better than it is now. Does it do things now good? Sure, but it was much better because it performed core functions that it didn't perform now. Apple comes out with the Apple Card and Apple Pay, and everything is seamless. Google had that first, and they decided to discontinue the card portion, and you couldn't put money in it. I mean, it was all kind of, it was just so I think they're making, in my opinion, they're not hitching their wagon to the right horse.
Well, what Google does, I think, in my opinion of what they're doing, because as you were going through all the different little things, they also have Duo.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So they got those different platforms, right? And it's kind of like they're throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks.
What sticks?
Now, I give some credit to them because, as you were mentioning, Google Messages, they have, and of course they have to, because there's an openness here. There's such thing called open source, but they were talking about assisting other message, because they're trying to make RCS, help make RCS isn't their invention, but they're trying to make RCS a thing.
Yeah.
And get other apps to support, other messaging systems to support RCS. So when I read about that, I thought, well, that's a pretty decent thought process there. Real quickly down, if you see the comment I have up, he thinks that Google's really pushing more to doing casting. I don't disagree with that at all. Buy the little, if you don't have it built into your TV, then buy the little Chromecast devices in Android TV or something, and use that as your casting platform. But that's really not what we're talking about. We're talking about walking into an office. You're a remote user from maybe another city, and you go into the office. They say you can go sit over there, and you see a monitor, and you just hook up to that monitor and start working off of your mobile device. When I did that, I just blew some of my friends away at Mitsubishi. They were like, "You're doing that from that little, 950 XL?" I'm like, yeah. They couldn't believe it. They were like shocked. But then again, they weren't tech savvy people. But really, that was a neat,
good feature,
innovation.
Yeah,
it's what made me think Microsoft's back on the right path, because Microsoft went wrong with Windows Phone 7 and 8. I think they went the wrong path. They the only right thing they did in that path was, you mentioned about Apple having that making things right. Well, one of the reasons that they made things right is they control the hardware.
That's correct.
100%, right?
100%. Yep.
So Microsoft, with Windows Mobile 6.5 and previous, you had all these different makers just making devices and putting basically what was Windows CE on it, and
Yep.
Microsoft made it for mobile, but still they had to customize it to work on their devices, much like you do with Android. And Microsoft went and said, we're going to set a common platform that you have to do things this way, so that they could make a model similar to Apple, and thus control how the hardware platform was. Because that's part of where your problems come up is, those drivers, etc. But Microsoft failed, in my opinion, with Windows Phone 7 and 8 because they were going after Apple is what they were doing. Instead of sticking with that productivity that Windows Mobile was about, they went to that taking pictures. I mean, and you had great camera, but that whole let's be a normal user instead of the business market. And by that time, by Windows Phone 7, Apple already had the momentum. Nokia was falling off the face of the earth. Android wasn't really making headway, but Android had more headway than Windows Mobile had. So I felt like they messed up at those two iterations. And then with Windows 10 Mobile and Continuum, things kind of changed. So I see here a comment about Google wants to, you know what? Chromebooks suffering a sales, and I get this information from watching some of Windows Central yesterday, watching their podcast, and they announced 600% drop because
I believe that.
Well, Chromebooks are sold in education pretty heavy.
That's where
the market. And once you saturate a market, you got to have more market, and you don't.
Pandemic hit in late 2019, early 2020. Everyone goes to school remote. We sell a ton of Chromebooks. We fast forward 12 months. That pipeline is now full.
Well,
and so people, you're not going to that same buyers using the same Chromebook from, the other every year.
The other thing they brought up, which I fully accept because I know the supply chain, not as a supply chainist, but I know where the electronic supply chain is because it impacts my business and my customers' businesses tremendously. And one of the points they brought up was that because there's a lower number of this is the best way to put it, because there's a low number of components being manufactured right now and can be shipped, people that build Chromebooks are putting priority on Windows machines because Windows machines sell more. They're more money.
More high profit.
They make more profit. So if you can only get X number of a component, let's say of a Wi-Fi card, you can only get so many of them. Where are you going to put that Wi-Fi card in? You're going to put it in something that you're making a few dollars profit, or are you going to put it into something that you're making, tens of dollars of profit? I know it's more than that, but you're making 10 times the profit on a Windows machine. I don't know what the profit numbers are, but I'm sure they're gigantically different. So they mentioned that as a reason Chromebooks are their sales have dropped. And I think on the Android 12L, it's going to be interesting to see if there's more focus on some of these larger screen stuff, and they did not enhance foldables beyond what Jetpack does.
It's really, but that's just a great example of what we're talking about. Look at that naming convention. 12L. Was that for 12 large screen? Maybe, but it's that's just not this market. That's not consumer friendly.
No.
That's enthusiasts. And so they have some, I think their focus needs to and listen, I don't give Microsoft a free pass because I think I'm not a marketing person, but I am a business guy. I eat, sleep, breathe business. And from from my personal life all the way through my professional, everywhere I eat, sleep, breathe business. And I happen to think that you don't see many commercials. Well, I haven't seen any commercials with someone using Google Duo or Google Voice, which Google Voice is a good program.
I can't say that I have either, but
you see people FaceTiming on commercials with his iPhone.
Yeah, and in movies and
and all kinds of things they're showcasing capability to generate interest. Back to this thing here. This is where they're dropping the ball on this. Great possibility and capability, but their strategy is kind of, like Ryan said, I'm not satisfied. It's a smart strategy. I think they should have worked more bringing Chrome package apps to Android and scale Android up for slates and notebooks. I have never met a Chromebook that I thought was worth buying.
I don't like them. I really don't.
I think that a lot of people like them, and I acknowledge that. I've watched many videos trying to convince myself to buy one. Recently, I watched a video on a $1,400 Chromebook, and I kept asking myself, why would I pay $1,400 for a Chromebook? And it wasn't even LTE. And I just.
Oh, it didn't have LTE built into it?
No.
Didn't have any mobile.
Well, it was Wi-Fi, but had no mobile connectivity. You always had to be connected to something.
At that price, that's.
I mean, because this right here is an iPad, and I'm not an iPad guy, but I have every platform. I got some Androids. I got iOS. I have Windows. I have around here somewhere probably some Blackberries. I have just about everything you can think of. So I buy things for usability and to keep up with it. But this right here, it just works. And it works every time.
You seem to be my brother from another mother. You really do, because that's me. When I was forced to carry a BlackBerry or an iPhone, I still had a Windows Mobile or a Windows Phone and an Android phone with me. So I had them all. But anyway, let's move to a couple of other things on our list. I'm sure we're going to. I think the next thing on the list was to talk about the case real quick, because we done the youth. So cases, I've done a review. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it. Here.
I have.
So
I watched it and I put it in my shopping cart.
Okay.
And I kept watching your video before I clicked the checkout.
So I'm going to do another video, a final thoughts video. I like it. I'm going to tell you now, I really do like it.
Okay.
I do want to make a comment. I think there's another guy who I don't like to talk bad about anybody, so I'm not talking bad about him. But his review's kind of not on point. I don't know if you saw Ryan's review.
I didn't see it yet. In fact, I looked to see that anyone else. This is a couple of days ago. I looked to see if anyone else have reviews on it in addition to you.
So he brought up the point. The first thing he did was he said, he held it up, and this is flimsy, this is plastic, and plastic is a general word.
That's very general.
So let me tell you what it is. It's actually polycarbonate. And you know what polycarbonate is, right?
Yes,
That's
it is.
That's a very strong,
Very dense plastic. Yeah.
Exactly. Very, very strong. And so it's polycarbonate and a synthetic rubber. And I got to thinking, I don't know if people can see this here, but this is my Surface here. And my Surface has, because where I go in an automotive plant. I gotta have protection because I might drop this.
That's right. That's true. I've been in
So
those environments.
I like to have protection. And I have never seen a protective case that was not made of a plastic. Plastics that's a very broad term. There are so many different types of plastics.
Very much. Yeah.
I've never come across.
You wouldn't make it of metal. You wouldn't make it metal. That's not going to be absorbing in collision. So
I love what you said there, because that's where I was going to head. Is you've got when a drop occurs, that force, that energy that comes from the impact has got to go somewhere. So where are you going to send it?
That's right.
Are you going to have the device absorb it and maybe dissipate it parallel to the device, which is something I was trying to design with either honeycomb or some kind of an infill on a 3D print that would cause the force to go this way. It would still go in, but there would be less of the force going this way.
That's correct.
I don't think people understand that even if you filled it with air, if you had just a tube and air, if you impact air, I guess people don't know what a shock wave is.
That's right.
You can still have a shock wave. So, but to put metal, to be able to absorb the impact, you know how much metal you'd have to put there?
Oh,
it'd have to be 10 to 20 times the size of the device for it not to impact the device. It's not a smart move.
No.
So to provide protection, you've got to have something that can absorb it.
That's right.
And Otterbox is so I'm glad he has a channel and I'm glad he does too. I don't know much about him, though I've been watching some of his stuff. I think he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
I think he could use some technology help on a few things. Because I think when you're going to like a case, if you're going to review a case, you probably should understand, for example, that Otterbox is a leader in the protective case industry.
Very much.
I
have a few of their cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ed's got a point, and I'm sure you're going to put that on the screen.
Yeah. So the other things, I'll put those up there and I'll address those. So the fingerprint reader works without issue. There's no issue with the fingerprint reader. And the plastic screen, well, the Otterbox does that on all of their devices that I've ever used that had that they felt like they needed to put a screen protector with it. So they build the screen protector into the device, and that's what they did here. I've left the screen protector on. I did, and I put a video up on it, and I think I caught it with so I took this case on and off over a dozen times. And I wear compression gloves because I have both carpal tunnel and I'm developing arthritis. Back when I was a young boy and I played sports, I jammed every knuckle on my hand, and all that stuff. Now all those hand injuries are now starting to.
You feel them now?
Yeah, I feel them badly now, and so I think I caught it on the edge. The screen protector does not impact its use. I did find just a good wipe down with water is what you do to, not water, but you dampen What I've dampened is a like a Bounty, a sheet of Bounty, paper towel. Just dampen it and wipe it, and it's certainly anything that you put between you and the screen is going to dampen the view of the screen,
Right.
and it should dampen the input to it. But I can still just lightly flick gestures and they work. So I've had zero impact with touch from what I can tell.
And that's good.
It feels a little different, obviously. So there's that mental. Yeah, but the use is the same, and the view seems to be fine.
Yeah.
The fingerprint. So the fingerprint reader, you say you agree with him, but he was wrong on that. Fingerprint reader does work. He didn't even try it.
So in other words, is what he's saying, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but is what he's saying that it requires you to put your finger in the exact place for the reader to pick up his read?
You have to put it in the exact place, whether the case is on there or not. It's in the same location.
Okay.
I mean, nothing's changed physically. You might have to press down 0.05% harder on your finger to make it work. But I honestly, I just lay my hand on it and wipe, and it works. I
was going to buy it and take the screen protector off with the X-Acto knife.
So what I don't know is one of the things, if you go into single screen mode, so I'm going to put my device. Let me switch to the 3-2 camera view here. So when you go into single screen mode here, the screen protector slides on over your edge back here. Let me go back up here.
Oh, okay.
So it slides on in this orientation. It's kind of hard. I'm not keeping up, but it slides on. So it could slide off on you. The screen protector actually helps hold it in place. I've got too laggy a video. So I don't know that I'm going to take it off. I'm going to address a couple of other things he made a comment about. He commented on the edge here, the glance bar. Okay, well, there's absolutely zero way you can protect if you want to have full fold back. You just can't physically, it's impossible. However, if you consider drops, let's consider drops. The only way that glance bar is going to get, or that edge is going to get hurt, is if it landed, say, on an edge. But if you dropped it flat on the floor, it'll never, and here's why. The end here where they do their ball joint for riveting, it actually sticks out past the edge here. So that's going to hit right there. If you drop it, that's going to hit.
If it hits flat, yes.
That's going to absorb. Yeah, well, if you hit it on a corner, it's going to hit this here as well.
Or if you hit it on the corner of something.
You got to hit it on the corner of something. So walking down brick steps, and you drop it, and it hits the the step down part, the corner of the brick. Yeah, there's where you could have damage on it by hitting it there. But to damage the unit, I mean, this thing here has, all right, so let me see. I'm going to try to keep up here.
I really like that point that he just made. He said it could be how you trained your fingerprint. I think that's actual very
So
a very good point.
what I did is I trained all edges of my, like I do with every device.
Mm-hmm.
I do my entire finger, the end of my thumb. Now I do multiple fingers too, but I do, and it works with all fingers. I do it on the sides, the tip, the other side. You know, I do the whole. I do the whole thing. I think that's should be a thing that everybody should do. I thought when I first put it on, I would have an issue, and someone mentioned about training, retraining the fingerprint. I haven't had to do it, so maybe it might could be. But is he really trying? Because when he did his first review, his unboxing, he said it wouldn't work before he ever put it on the device. And that was just, I think you got to. All right, so I'm just going to say there's no problem with the fingerprint reading.
Well, I'm gonna tell you now. I don't have the Otterbox case on my. You see, I just have the Microsoft bumper and the skin.
Yep.
But I have noticed something with my Duo 2. This is the day one device, and it's a daily driver. I've noticed that it does not unlock as fast as it used to. Now, that could be because it's wintertime. Your fingers get drier, not as responsive. I reckon I'm not one of those review people that, in fact, I don't really review. I just use. But
right.
I have noticed that when I pick my stuff up, and sometimes it's just I gotta press it to unlock it. I mean, I didn't used to have to do that. So it could be a factor of I don't know what kind of reader this is. I don't know. It's obviously not ultrasonic, like inside the screen.
Right.
So maybe I don't know what it is.
So this type of reader should be more precise and accurate. I haven't had a problem with it, but through the years of fingerprint readers, there's been times I've encountered issues, and there's usually a condition that I can relate it to, that I've done something to my fingerprints, to my tips of my fingers. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. For me, thankfully, I've not encountered an issue yet. You could, though you're wiping it, you still could consider cleaning it. Your finger wipes on it, we transfer oils, etc. I'm not saying that's causing an issue, but it's something to think about. Our finger, I don't know. I've been lucky in that I haven't encountered it, but in the past I've seen, if I've been out and about and I'm out and my fingers are real sweaty, or I'm real cold. I can remember having some times up in Chicago, out. I remember that morning well. It was -7, and I had to get up at 4:30 to clean the snow off the car so I could get to the airport 4:30 in the morning. And I had trouble fingerprint reading then. So there are conditions that impact its reading, but I don't know. Thankfully, I haven't had anything yet. I'm seeing we got some good comments here.
Oh, excellent comment.
I choose not to drop my device. Quite honestly, it all comes down to how careful are you with any device that you have. I just don't. What I feel bad about is buying the bumper, and
$40.
And I bought another one because Best Buy had that deal, buy 2 accessories, you get them for half price. So
I did
bought
too.
another bumper and a power. And the bumper's it's not going to protect against a drop.
Yeah, it doesn't, but it makes it look pretty. But that's it.
It does accent it. It does, but it's not drop protection. So obviously the best answer is to not drop it. But
Absolutely.
if you're in situations, I mean, I've dropped phones. Everybody's dropped a phone.
Most anyway. Well, I mean, I travel a lot, and I was in Salt Lake City a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be, I travel for work, so for me, it's a back pocket, inside pocket device. It does travel with me. I do use it when I'm going through TSA. I'm scanning barcodes with it. I mean, they're checking me in. So I use it. Now, I try real hard.
Ryan must have big hands because he's saying that it's more secure in my hands than previous, which I agree if we're talking about Duo 2.
Sort of.
I've tried to hold one-handed while typing. One thing I can't do is one-hand use the device. I have to hold it.
Can do that. Yeah.
It's too now, you know what? With this case, I might be able to.
Because it has a ridge on it, right?
It's got a ridge on it. Exactly.
Right.
And actually, as I'm holding it here one-handed right now, I could. Oh, yes. I hadn't even thought about its one-hand capability. Yeah. The case makes it one-hand usable. I'm just not, even with a like my S21, I don't do a lot of stuff one-handed. I might scroll one-handed. If you're in the airport and you're pulling your luggage behind you and you're wanting to catch up on your emails or whatever, then you got a device in your hand. And that's when you can drop it, actually. I've been in the airport and seen lots of phones dropped when guys are doing that, right? So it's actually makes the phone one-handed usable. See, this is why I wanted to wait a few days to make a final statement, because I wanted to use it and see all
You're absolutely right.
The negatives and the positives of the case. And we don't really have any options. This is our only option.
And that I don't understand. It boggles my mind why we don't have other. Listen, Microsoft is a behemoth of a corporation, and when you're really behind something, you don't initially, trust me, you don't. It's not about the profit, because this is not Office 365 where you're going to make your shareholders happy with it. This is building off of the now so you can have a future. That's what this is. And this is, and so you got 5 years of negative returns. Okay. So we have to throw that argument out the window and say, well, they don't want to lose money. Listen, did you see the earnings statement of Microsoft this past week?
Right.
That is not something that they have to worry about. 2 million, 5 million, 10 million of these devices means nothing to that balance sheet. Nothing. So it's all about what inroads they think they can make into the market. Unless they concede it before they really even started, they've got to start doing more. Make cases. They've got to these skins at a third party. Why they don't make skins?
So I think Microsoft. Now, my thought is on the case that Microsoft Otterbox was willing to make one. So Microsoft, there's not going to be a huge market for cases for Duo 2s right now. There's not that many.
Until you start putting it on television, yes, you're right.
So there's not a huge market. So it's a limited market. And this is an engine. I'm going to tell you what, when you get this case, you're going to be awed at its engineering feat that they've done here. This is a fantastically engineered device, or not device, but case. That costs money. Now,
Oh,
Otterbox has been doing this for a long time, so they know the things that they've got to do.
yeah, they do.
And there's some other companies that make competitive products to Otterbox that are dropped, and they know what to do. But there's a cost to it. There's a small market. And I think the question there was why Microsoft didn't make its own case. I think Microsoft legitimately has a partner that was willing to make a case. And so instead of impacting their potential to make some sales, I said, okay, if you want to do it, go for it.
Well, it didn't cost Microsoft anything for someone to say, I want to make a case. I could contact and go through the necessary, agreements to become a value-added reseller with accessories and make cases. They would send me a dummy unit, and I would just go to 3D printing heaven and just print all, But and that any of us on here can do that.
Now, what Microsoft should have done, and I don't know, maybe Microsoft did help design this, but Microsoft should have had a design and had it available on launch day. That's my biggest.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's my biggest gripe, but that's a big gripe.
Well, that goes into showing your commitment behind the product, because when Steve Jobs once did it, Tim gets on stage, he's going to show his partners with the iPhone.
Well,
maybe
Otterbox said they could. The thing is we don't know why there was a delay.
No, we don't. We don't know.
Certainly part of the delay is supply chain.
I'm sure of that.
But I don't think it's all the delay. We don't know what the delays are, but I think in the end something should have been done to make sure there were some kind of cases available. In the end, using a bumper is some kind of protection, but it ain't all the protection, and that's why I got it, because it is some kind. So certain drops, I'm sure certain drops it helps with, but a 4-foot drop, I don't know. Now, that's the other thing, Harry, and we'll move on. This case was tested with 4-foot drop, and it has to survive 25 of them. So,
and because it's an Otterbox, it probably does.
Yeah, well, it has. They say it does. I mean,
I would be confident that it does.
They got the test. They've got the testing data. They have to have it. They can't put that on their packaging if they don't. So, and if you ask Microsoft, what does the bumper? What would happen? How many drops could you survive from 4 foot with the bumper? Microsoft probably would say none. None.
Yeah, none. I mean,
I look at it.
I put a skin on this because I recognize that the glass that's on here is easily scratchable.
So it is. Oh, yes. So
when you fold it and you set it down, you're putting it on tables and counters and stuff, and it's scratched. I said, let me put something on it, and that has tremendously helped that. But dropping it on a cement in my driveway, no, I'm being afraid that's not gonna work.
So I've got another gripe. So before I put this case on, I knew I was going to clean the phone the best it's been cleaned. And of course, as you know, you clean this phone if it's bare, naked,
all the time.
How do you push it up? How do you pick it up? Because it gets dirty immediately. But I cleaned it. I buffed it. And I saw scuffs. I saw a couple of scuffs and a couple of scratches on the outside, not on the screens. They're using that Invictus glass on the screens. And the first thing that got into my mind is, why didn't they use that on the outside? Why did they go with Gorilla Glass?
Valid point. That's an interesting point. You're right.
Why, yes, the Invictus costs more, but come on. Why didn't you put that on the outside? Because when I saw those scratches, they're micro scratches, but they're there.
They're there. Yeah.
And I'm cautious with my device. They're there. There's a couple of scuffs that are very noticeable. When you get down and look at it, you get at the right angles, you see them. Do you see them if you hold it up and look at it, a foot away or so? No, but that doesn't matter. They're there.
They're there.
And that means they will continue to be there and more will come. So it's not just a fingerprint magnet. It's going to scratch up. So skins are, if you want to be able to sell this device later,
better put a skin on it.
Get rid of it, put a skin on it.
Yes,
that
sir.
way you can hand a person a
nice
looking device. Yep. If you don't, it's gonna not. If you were to sell it on eBay, it might even be hard to put it in good condition after a year or two.
I would put it on Swapper, but yeah, and I'm a Swapper guy. But,
so I'm not happy about that. I really when I was putting that case on and I saw that immediately, I'm like, oh man, it bugged me to death. And to know that they had a better glass on the screen side that they could have put on the outside.
Yeah.
And the cost to them couldn't be for that size screen more than a few dollars at the most. So what I have been considering is using my Fusion 360 and my 3D printer is creating a case that would cover the outside, because that, in my opinion, is where the need is. For example, I would not make it out of ABS plastic, which is very strong and durable, but it's also, as we mentioned, very, very hard. It needs to be some type of TPU, easy, soft rubber. The case that I would build would be two components, separate components that go on the screen. Right. So, and I guess this comment's about I don't have as much of a problem with the plastic on the Duo 2 because that's a polycarbonate as well. I would have preferred to see it made just like a Surface, but that's not a big issue to me. Not as big an issue as that glass not being Invictus on the outside. That's not as big an issue. Ultimately, I would prefer that the housing be a metal instead of I'll admit that, because it would have added a little bit more weight. And
weight can be good if it's a big device.
Well, but weight, use the right material, it won't be too heavy, but that little extra weight feel just sends something to your mind about quality. So it's one thing I got to say on this S21 Ultra, it's, when you hold it, it's slicker than the Duo 2 is. I've got a skin coming for the back of it. But I would have liked to have seen the housing be a metal. I would have really liked to have seen the housing to be the same as a Surface Pro. Same material, same color. If you wanted a different color, put a skin on it. That's what people do with Surface Pros. But that is a gripe. That's a huge gripe, and I'm talking about that outside glass thing. But ultimately, I do think the case is worth getting. If you take the screen protector off, that's your call. Be aware that in phone mode, that it could make the case a little easier to move on you, but you can just take your hand and slap it right back up.
Because it doesn't click onto the device at all. All it does.
No, it can't. Exactly.
Yeah,
no,
that's to me a design flaw. That's just
Well, I don't know how they could. to be honest with you. It's a nice snug fit. Maybe it may be. I'm not going to disagree with you. If there was some way to do that, I've been thinking about making a case, and I got ideas. If you're thinking you're going to do, I got ideas I'd like to share with you. I'm going
to do it and release it to the whole Duo community. Hey, buy this case, $10.
So I spent 4 hours watching infill videos.
Okay, different designs on infill.
To find what might be the best infill design for shock absorption. I actually found an infill that's better, that may be better than honeycomb, because before I even started looking, I figured a honeycomb infill would be the best. And there's another infill. I got to go look its name up again. This isn't my cup of tea, although I'm hoping I get a 3D printer for my birthday this month.
Okay.
My family knows this.
So if they're watching, huh?
Well, my wife's heard it, and I've made comment on it a few times. But I've spent a fair amount of time, and what I found interesting is some of the things that I was going to do with the case, Otterbox did. So on the back, for example, here, this is tapered from here to this point, up to the camera. It's tapered, as it should be, so that it can fold back. This case, when you fold it closed like this, a normal close, there's actually a lip here. It's kind of hard for you to see, but there's a lip here.
I can see it. What I would do would create
a groove. Now, what I wanted to say here is that lip lays into that groove, so that when I push this thing closed like this, right, it's sealed.
It's sealed, right.
Now, and then of course the USB port is plugged.
Right at the door. Mm-hmm.
Now they say it's done to keep lint and other things out, but I'm not saying do this, but you could pour water on it and it wouldn't get in. So they've done some good things on the design that I had in my mind. I had no idea how to do the end here where they did the ball joint for the riveting.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Plastic, right?
Do what?
The ball joint is plastic.
Yeah, everything's plastic. Everything's a polycarbonate. That's definitely a polycarbonate. The only place it's not polycarbonate is out here on the corners. It's a synthetic. It's a polycarbonate with a synthetic rubber on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brian makes the comment about you probably carry the device closed. That's true. I do not carry the device in phone mode. I use it in phone mode, but right, if I'm, putting it into the laptop bag or putting it into my back pocket, which is normally where I put it, I fold it closed. So
well, when I'm in the car, and I have many other things, but when I'm in the car and I'm going to use this in my phone holder, I see some people doing this. Now, in my car, I got too many buttons and stuff. I couldn't do this. Uh-huh. But what I do is I do phone mode, and it goes into a slot on the on the vent, and that's how I keep it up on the dash. It's too heavy to do anything else with, so. The case that I would put on would take care of that, I think.
Yeah, so Ryan's comments here are very valid. And this is why they should not have put the inferior glass on it. The good thing is that, and I don't know why they did not on this case put something on the camera side over it. So you got plastic on one side, which is the front. Mm-hmm. But it is lipped so that you can lay it down and nothing will touch and scratch, but that doesn't keep it from getting buffed, maybe going in and out of your pockets.
Absolutely. That's why you need a bumper. That's why you need a skin.
So that's what the bumper's good for, and that's what a skin is good for. That's right.
But these bumpers, to your point you made earlier, these bumpers are the cheapest thing because they discolor. If you get the colored bumpers, they literally change color.
No, I believe it. The thing about plastics, and I don't know what plastic, I don't know what their combination is, but and that's one of the things that Otterbox checks against is human oils on your hands and environmental things. So they go through all these rigorous tests. And you wonder, because of the comments we're hearing about the bumper, is how much of effort was put into testing whatever compound they're using to make those bumpers, because one thing that's definitely is going to transfer is oils from your hands.
Yep.
I don't know how it came. I don't know how this came up, but there was a YouTube video on a guy cleaning iPhones, and he's using a dental pick to clean out the USB port, and pull all the lint and stuff out of it. But when he got to the speakers and to the so the speaker, certain components on there pick up human oils, off the face, etc.
Speaker, it's a big one.
And his comment was it's like earwax, and that's getting on these bumpers, and that's discoloring the bumpers, and it'll also weaken it, because that's the other thing is these chemical reactions that are occurring may be weakening it as well.
Maybe.
So
makes sense.
I'm very disappointed that I am myself in buying 2 bumpers. But I know why I bought the first one. I'm really disappointed in buying.
I know of that same sale that they had, and I bought a bumper and a wall charger.
Like I said, brother from another mother.
And
that's what I got.
Because I couldn't find nothing else to buy. I didn't want the pen. I mean, I got the version 2 pen. I don't have the new flat pen, but I couldn't find anything else to utilize.
I've got a pen, exactly. I got the orange one. So I bought the obsidian bumper originally, and then I got the orange one, the tangerine, excuse me.
I have gotten, it's good. It's pretty.
It's pretty. That's why I got it. But I'll never use it now, because I'm not going to take this Otterbox off.
That's the thing. I would have to, I couldn't use the Otterbox and this bumper. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors here.
Yeah, exactly. So, I wanted to talk about GCam.
Okay. Our last subject.
That was the next thing. Exactly. So GCam, by the way, a couple of points on GCam. First, I know you were using 8.4.300, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So, and you're using the BSG release.
That's correct. And it's still my GCam release there. And one of the reasons why is I didn't have to do a whole bunch of fiddling with it. Again, I didn't want to have to reinvent the wheel. I just want to install it and take a picture. And I noticed the shutter button and the controls are at the bottom, whereas many of them, they were in the middle of the screen. And
that's true. Some of them have it in the middle of the screen. Well, BSG released yesterday 8.4.400. So as Google updates their, camera app, modders potentially target that. And so there is 8.4.400 that was just released yesterday. I'm using Big Kaka 8.4.300, same one that you're using. And the reason I'm using it is they have almost all the configuration things in it. So if you want to go in and configure, they're there. They're not there yet in the BSG 8.4.300. Those have not been added in. I don't know if they will be, if that's left to other modders, but I'm using the big Kaka, like I say, 8.4.300 version 5. I did post a few days to a week ago, big Kaka, a link to their 8.4.300 version.
I saw that.
Yeah. That was version 2. And then that night, there's an individual that's we've been communicating quite a bit via Telegram. And he told me there was this version 5 out. And so I got it. And boy, it's nice. It's 8.4.300, like what you're using. The other thing that he and I are communicating about is developing a noise model. So there are tools to do noise modeling.
That's absolutely. Yep.
We're in discussion right now about trying to come up with a noise model for the Duo 2.
Okay.
So it would be something that could be given to the community, and other people could, just load it in and use it. It's a matter of time. So this is kind of a labor of love, but I also have a job and other things I have to do. So I don't know if he's going to do it before I do it, but there's 7 people watching. And if one of you 7 are interested, at the GCam Hub, they do have documentation on how to create models. And this is a noise model so that you can make the pictures even better. So why would you?
I mean, you're a camera buff. I mean, that's right. Yeah. I mean, hence the point. You clicking or you shooting raw. I mean, most of us on here.
I shoot both, so that if I've got something I want to share immediately, I'll have it. But then I have the raw image if it's something that I really care about, and I really want to make it look right. Because like what you mentioned earlier, what people don't understand, and what Samsung, Apple, and to a degree Google, but really Apple and Samsung, they really blow pictures up to make them look vibrant. They don't look real.
Oh, they saturate. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but people see them and they're like, well, that's a great photo, but it wasn't what your eyes saw.
To a camera person, it's not a great photo.
It's not a great photo. That's right.
But most of us are not
that. So for me, and one of the biggest flaws of our camera that in the stock software, not the camera, but the stock software camera, is that you can't get a raw image out of it. So I have requested that. That's a disappointment to me that we can't get a raw image and do our own processing, our own post-processing.
It's definitely capable and it's definitely there.
It's definitely there because I'm doing it with the GCam. So it does provide the raw image. So GCam gets the raw image. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons I use GCam. However, GCam's post-processing is better than what Microsoft is doing. And you see it in the pictures yourself. So I think that you hear people, I've seen some people comment that, well, it's only good for night vision because it has very good night vision. That's not true. It's good for, it's better for day vision pictures too. Those pictures are better as well. Is it as noticeable? The thing is that the night vision on the Duo before the January update was horrible. They improved. They improved. Horrible. Maybe horrible's not. Maybe that's too harsh. It was not great. It was not good.
Okay. Well, semantics, huh? So.
Right. Use whatever word you want. You can say it's horrible. You can say it was very bad. It was okay, but it wasn't. It wasn't like what it is now. And it certainly wasn't what a GCam would throw out. GCam, definitely Google has put a lot of work into that part of their
Oh,
processing.
definitely, yeah. Definitely.
I'm not a big fan of Google, but I have to give them credit for their camera software. They are doing a great job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think GCam is a good thing for people to use if you're. It wasn't the reason to buy the phone, the camera.
Ryan is correct.
It's not why. That's not the reason to buy the phone. That's right.
Yep.
Because in the end, I've got an S21 Ultra, right?
Yep.
So there's no better camera phone on the market until that S22 Ultra comes out. So I'm set for that if I need to be, and I will carry it if I have to. It's not a burden to me. So not for me, but it is good to have a camera that could take a decent picture, because if I'm in a factory and they allow me, and I want to get a picture of for some information for my documentation, or from, well, it's always for my documentation. So a video of the machine running, or some nameplate information off of a device, or just whatever. I want to have that camera. I want to have a camera that can give me a good picture.
And you want it to come out in a fraction of a second.
And I want it there then. Exactly. I want it
You don't
now.
want to sit there and figure this out. Let me hold it right, and somebody turn that light on, and that's not what you want. You want to click, that's it, and you just,
And see, the thing is I can't say turn that light on. The lighting is what the lighting is.
It is what it is. That's right.
And the lighting will not, you can't change the lighting. You can't bring in LED lights and set up. We're in and out. We're going out looking at the machine. We got to get our stuff and then maybe move back to a meeting or whatever. So I needed.
I've been there, done that.
Exactly. The shtick. So the Duo One camera, just for a number of reasons, wasn't enough for that. If I were back in the conference room and you laid manuals out and I needed to take pictures of the manual, the Duo One could do that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But out on the factory floor, no. So I agree. It's not the reason to buy the phone. But why have to carry multiple devices if you don't have to? And it's not bad to have a camera. One of the things, there was a thread on Reddit, and I commented on it about adding a module for a camera. Because what happened is someone posted a picture of a Duo 2, and they took the camera bump and put it on the top up here like a little robot. And like, why couldn't they do that so the back would be flat? And the first thing I commented on was where the mirror is going to go, because the way that they mounted it, unless you had a bigger module that included everything, then the module would have to be deeper than what we have here. But it could be done. But why not just put a port on the Duo 2 at the top, another USB 3 port there, and snap a camera input, snap a camera on when you needed it.
Really, the sky's the limit when you got money and time. So the sky, there's nothing that, honestly, that can't be done, because I was a proponent of making it just a little bit thicker. You probably could eliminate most of the bump altogether and the phone go flat. There's a lot you could have done. But
you could probably get it down to, like, if you're familiar with the S10 Plus.
Yep.
And it has just a little tiny bit of a ridge. You could probably, by making the device a little bit thicker, you could probably do away with that. And rotating the cameras around maybe would make the device a little easier to lay down.
Maybe. There's a lot of things that could do, but aesthetically would not look. Right now, it's not a bad looking device. The bump is unfortunate because we saw Duo 1, and Duo 1 was sleek. clean. It's good looking.
Exactly. I mean, the Duo One is like you say, sleek and mean, and there's no doubt about it. Not having a bump on it, there's some aesthetics about it, and the
Yeah,
holding.
it looks good. Looks really good.
I don't.
So
I don't find.
Go ahead.
I don't find that the bump impacts my use of the device. That doesn't mean that the Duo One doesn't look better and feel better in the hand. That's not what that means. It means that
That's right.
it's not a a showstopper, blah 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 for me.
I agree.
And I like that the camera's there, so I accept the bump. But if Microsoft could give me the same thing without the bump, then that would have been better. And I'm sure that they will strive to.
Well, there's constraints, obviously, we didn't know about, but that they have. So before we sign off, and we're about to sign off here, you placed in our Telegram group, and if many of you don't know, we do have a Surface Duo. It's called Surface Duo Global, a Telegram group where we congregate. We talk about all things Surface Duo and how to do and what to do and tips and tricks, and it's community led. So, but you place links to the recommended camera APK that you just spoke of, but there's two different versions to that camera. There is a.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, there is, and if you could share with people the recommended version, because both of them will work on your device, but there's two different versions, and obviously one's probably better than the other.
Yeah, there's one thing I wish Telegram could do, and I prefer Telegram over Reddit. Although I know I post a lot on Reddit, but Reddit's got trolls galore, and we don't have that issue on Telegram. And Harry's one of the admins, so
delete.
He's gonna delete junk spam. It really is a good community. I wish we had. Now you can pin something, so maybe
you can.
Well,
I mean, and we can pin anything. That's the good thing about it. There's nothing that is community
so Harry,
led.
what the thing is that, and actually now with the new update, these 8.4 versions work on the Duo One as well. They didn't on Android 10, but they do on Android 11, even though they're designed to work on Android 10. That's what that A10 in the name means. Android 10. Yeah. So you have to have Android 10 or higher to use it. These latest versions, actually 8.4, is designed for Android 12. 8.4 300, I think, is originally Android 12. It came out for the Pixel 6. So the Pixel 6 Pros. There's several versions, and I test them all.
Yep.
To see if all of them work, because there may be something in one that somebody likes that's not in another. The biggest thing I look for, Harry, is being able to have configuration so that you can control things. And even the one that I'm using doesn't have the best ones seem to be the 8.2 versions, like Nikita CAM, NGCam, where you can actually go in and set the lens. You can go in and configure all the items on the lens.
Very true.
So you got a lot of control. That's what I like about GCam over the stock software. But yeah, we need to come up with something and pin it in that group.
And we can, we will, we can, and we just have to determine as a community what that is. That's what I like about the group, is that we can do anything.
can you create a secondary page?
Yes.
So we
And
can maybe
it
have
has a link, or that you
right. I noticed some of the other, because I'm I'm in like 5 different GCam groups, different modders,
Yep.
so that I can see who's got something and who's releasing this. Um, and they do that. So they have like BSG's got their release, they've got their help channel, they've got their so it's a general discussion channel. They have a config channel, and they have a release announcement channel. So they have 3 channels that they handle. You make a good point, and it would be good to have that and maintain that. And so just know what people need to know.
What people need to know.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
this is the reason I harp on it, because I think that this is where Microsoft fails.
Mm-hmm.
Love them. I have many of their products. I have a Surface Pro LTE, which many people don't even have. I use it, daily. I have many other Microsoft products.
Right.
But I think where they fail is they don't really share with the universe the capability of their products.
Right.
It's almost like they expect it to be osmosis. And when you're trying to make, as someone who's a product guy, when you're trying to make inroads, you need it to be, you need to say, "Woo, look at this," and I don't think they do.
I can agree with that. They need to do a better job of, some of it's there, but they don't expose it. And I say that because
Absolutely capabilities there, just don't tell
no,
you.
I mean the information, and I'll give you an example. I just did a video yesterday for the configuration of Microsoft Launcher, all the settings in Microsoft Launcher, and I'm going to do a follow-up, as I mentioned earlier, for the feeds part of it. So I was doing some searches last night. I just want to make certain, is there anything I don't know that maybe I can find out? So I'm doing some searching, and I found some stuff from the Microsoft support site from Microsoft that says and tells you certain things about the launcher. But it was not easy to find. I had to find it through searches. I could not find it through click, click, click. It wasn't thrown at you, in other words. And I'd never seen this stuff before. So they don't do a good job, even if they have it, of exposing it. Mm-hmm. So that's your gripe is 100% on. I agree with you. They could do a better job of that, and maybe we can do a better job on ours. Or we can we have the control. We can do a better job on our side.
Absolutely. Well, Dale, this has been great today.
Yeah, it was all on point. We stayed on point.
We stayed on point this time.
Yeah, we didn't wander. I got no problem with Ryan Tech. I think the guy's a nice guy. He appears to be a nice guy. I just want to make sure that's said again, and I hope he keeps doing what he's doing. Support him. Go watch his stuff. And I guess that's it. I don't. If there's any other questions, I can stick around and answer. If anybody else wants to comment, but
Dale will stick around. I got to go take care of some other things, but
yeah.
Again, we'll see you on the Telegram.
Yes, sir. I'll see you.
We'll do this again in another couple weeks.
Yep, I enjoy it, man.
Absolutely.
My brother from another mother.
For sure. Talk to you later, guys.
Peace out. Yeah. Does anybody else have anything, comments they want to make? I agree with you, Ryan, on, they kind of design things, as you mentioned on the screens, I guess back when we were talking about that, they had some design restraints or constraints, I should say, that they tried to stay within. So I don't fault them for putting a camera bump on. I think it's the thing they had to do. to develop a good product or a product that the community as a whole could use. Because we got to remember, we're not the only people. There are a number of users that never get online and communicate that buy these devices. And they may even be more the target than we are, because we expect certain things, and they're trying to drive to a market that can sell to a bigger market than us. Many of us will jump ship from platform to platform to get what we want. We're not afraid to do that, or buy another manufacturer's device. A lot of you people bought into the OnePlus stuff because of what they offered instead of sticking with, say, Samsung. It's all understandable, but that's, Microsoft's got to develop, or any manufacturer's got to develop to a certain degree to what the market can bear, or wants, not bear, but what they will consume. So it's a difficult position, especially when you're a small player in the market. Microsoft's a tiny player in the market. So one thing we forget about, they might be the largest software company and one of the most valuable tech companies, but they're tiny when it comes to these kind of devices. Even Surface products do enough for Microsoft that they keep them going. Surface products' whole purpose is to inspire OEMs on what they should build. That was the reason Surface products came to be, and that's why they continue to make them. But they're not going to make a product if it's just not driving the industry, or in particular driving, at least covering its own costs. Surface isn't the Surface line is not a cash cow for them by any means. It's I'm sure there are probably a lot of shareholders that like to see Microsoft just get out of it. Thankfully, they don't. I like Surface products, but we're in the same boat with this Surface Duo. But thankfully, I think it's going to have more to do with, does the market like these concepts versus does Microsoft? I think Microsoft will keep building the device if it looks like the market's going to go this way, or Microsoft may adapt the device. I'm not. The reason they didn't go with foldable screen initially was because of the reliability, and that's why they went with the two separate screens. Now, I don't know if any of the few people here remaining saw that or remember that when that was going on, but when we were hearing the whole leaks about what the Duo and the Neo and all was going to be, and Microsoft wasn't going foldable screen because they're an extremely conservative group. And Panos is very, very conservative. It took them forever to put USB-C on. Almost as conservative as Apple is. Oppo has people jumping ship right now. I like what they've done. Yeah, looking at that device, it looks pretty. It looks pretty cool. You mentioned UI like the Duo has, and that's one of the things. We had it on our list to talk, but boy, we talked a long time. So we'll talk maybe again about it in the next time Harry and I get together, and that's to talk about Microsoft Launcher, because Microsoft Launcher is one of the things Microsoft can do is improve the UI experience on Android through Launcher. And I don't like One UI. Even One UI 4.0, I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. I personally, if I want a quick to use UI, but if I want something that's glitzy, etc., I almost want one that's more like my computer. So actually I use, I have installed, I don't use it a lot, but computer launcher. it does a very good job. Thunderbolt, that took forever. Yeah, it's all about conservative, very, very conservative. So to see them go to a foldable screen, foldable screens are going to have to become, and they have gotten more reliable, but I couldn't use a foldable screen. I would kill it because I do a lot of pen stuff, and maybe I write a little harder than I should, but it would be hard for me to adjust that. I like to treat my Duo like a notebook. Yesterday, I was on a Teams meeting, and I had Teams running on my laptop, but I had my Duo in my hand writing notes. So I was taking my notes, handwriting, and that just wouldn't work as well on a fold. It's gotten better, and hopefully it'll get there. And I have no doubt that Samsung will get it there, and maybe other makers, glass makers, will get it there, or not glass, but plastics makers will be able to get it there. I think there's other things that can possibly be done with two screens and blending them together, actually, with a piece of plastic screen between, I don't know, that you slide out, and I've thoughts there. I'm sure that Microsoft is thinking those things through, and they've got good engineering people, and Samsung's got great engineering people. So I'm sure they're working on everything they can on the technology. But back to the launcher thing, I would like to see a better UI experience on the Duo. I think Microsoft can make it more Microsoft-ish, if you will. Although there are a number of great-looking desktops for Linux, so doesn't have to be. Though I like the Windows 11 UI, it doesn't have to be that. But coming from Microsoft, that's what it would be. I could go with some of the Linux UIs as well. I would just like something a little better than what we've had for the last over a decade, and with very little change to the UI. Even these add-on launchers, all they really mainly add are features to a base way of doing things. So there's things that can be done to make the UI better. I'm sorry, just you mentioning UI, that kind of triggered that point into my head. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the next release product. How much, if I were Microsoft, I'm going to say now, I would not release a Duo 3 for another year and a half. I would release a second version of the Duo 2. I think they could use all the hardware that they have here, maybe enhance a few things, which would not change form factor, like more recent version of Bluetooth, anything that maybe could be Wi-Fi, card upgradable, little things that doesn't require form factor change. They could probably make a few changes to the device without changing the device. They don't have to retool. That's the better thing to say. Not changing the device, but retooling the machinery that makes the device. There's a cost there. So if you're going to make a new product, Microsoft's not got a lot of manufacturing capability. I'm sure they probably haven't leased out enough manufacturing capability to keep making one and then, start making another. They probably have to retool, take out, etc. So I think this hardware that's in here, the processor especially, can survive another year and a half. So Snapdragon is that's a good processor. So I think we got I think the hardware's solid. Could use a few little tweaks. It would not require any major retooling. So I'd like to see a version 2 of the Surface Duo 2 before I see a version 3, and give it time to really nail down that third release. The only question is the operating budget, because they were budgeted so much money, and could that fit into the budget that they were given? It may not be able to. They might have to push it out within a certain period of time, because they're still paying people as well. So they've only got so much money they were allotted to work with, and once they exceed their budget, once they meet their budget, they met their budget, and they probably aren't going to get additional money right now. I would not think. I think it'd be very difficult to get additional money. These are the kinds of things that impacted the Andromeda project, was to be able to keep digging at something that's not ready and going to return dividends immediately, and things are changing. So the same thing could happen here. They have to be cautious about how long they delay. So I see you say you agree. I'm getting notifications popping up. I don't want that. Yeah, exactly. Give us another generation of the Duo 2 before a Duo 3. That would be ideal, I think. Give more feedback. Really nail down on the hardware things. Give that camera time to adjust out. Because quite honestly, if they're going to put a bump on like that, give me more than 16 megapixel. Because I do like to shoot RAW. I do like to be able to crop. And I like to do it. I would like to be able to do it without too much harm to the end image. So the more you crop, the more you lose. So I would like to have more megapixels to work with. I have DSLR, and I laugh when that troll always says on Reddit to take a picture in low light moving, But honestly, most of my pictures that I take, that's the only requirement. The only time that I'm in that environment is on a Friday night at a high school shooting football. And I have a DSLR for that, because there ain't no camera phone that can do it. Not pictures. You can do video. And these phones do surprisingly, my Samsung does surprisingly well for video. It's actually taken over some of my video now, especially the S21 with its zoom capabilities. And because you've got such a wide field that you can pull in enough light, because you're shooting at 35 millimeter. But usually if I'm in that environment, I've got a 2.8 to 70 to 200 lens that I use. I can push ISO up very high and still get fantastic pictures. So, but most of the pictures out the device that's in my hand is things you can see with the eyes without much issue. So my phone should be able to capture that. So anyway, I'd like to see some time given to improve things. I thank you guys for taking time to listen to us and provide some feedback and questions. We will do this again. I'm going to be doing a few more of these. I'm going to talk about the Tesla Pi phone. Now I've got a friend he calls himself Tesla Geek on YouTube, but he doesn't know anything about the Tesla Pi phone. So I'm going to talk about the Tesla Pi phone and a few other things. Yeah, 2.5. That's That's a good version for it. And maybe they could, release 2.5 with 12L. Maybe that could be their release this this fall. Now, a lot of people will complain though, because we're talking about minor hardware upgrades. Like I say, maybe going to latest version of Bluetooth as an example. Adding those kinds of things in that's not going to, I don't know. I don't know how much of that's confined to the sock. I don't know. That might be there might be a limitation there. But anything that they could change component wise inside without having to retool, do that, upgrade, and do a 2.5 with 12L. Who knows? Maybe they could lessen the camera bump by then. So I wouldn't be against it. I would not be one of the people that complained about it. Hey, if it didn't meet my specifications, I just wouldn't buy one. Keep using what I got, because I think I could use this one for another year and a half without issue. But anyway, I'm going to go. I thank everybody for taking time. And we'll see you again. And if anybody that sees this is not aware of our Telegram channel, come join us. It's Surface Global. If you need a link, just hit me up and I'll get you a link. Thanks for watching.